it. Football made simple. Become great at your craft by finding ways to make it simple for those around you. This is the Coaching 101 podcast hosted by Find a Way Productions with your co-hosts Daniel Chamberlain and Kenny Simpson. Good morning, coaches. This is the Coaching 101 podcast. I am Daniel Chamberlain. That over there is Coach Kenny Simpson. We are joined today by the one, the only, the three Fs, Bo Gould.
Hey, how's everybody doing?
Fantastic. It's cold weather season, which is my favorite, so I'm absolutely excited. I know, Kenny, it's not. Absolutely not.
No, Bo knows too. They laugh at me in the office, and Bo's wearing a little vest up there too. So he don't act like he was whining about softball practice being the cold today.
Uh-oh.
Yep.
You're rubbing off on him.
Boss lady's making us go outside today, so we're going to go outside.
I love it. Well, Bo, thanks, man, for joining us today. We're kind of getting into this systems era of our podcast. We're just going to talk to people about different systems that are successful at the high school level and that guys can actually use if they're looking to make switches. And we thought, who better to help us pitch the gun tee than the guy who's got so much input into it and helps travel the world and teach about it and install it and everything else. So I appreciate you being here. Why don't you real quick just give us a little introduction about who you are, kind of what you do there with Kenny and the gun tee.
Yeah. So thanks for having me on. Anytime I'm able to jump on and talk some ball, I'm always interested in it. But yeah, been here at Southside with Coach Simpson for 15 years. Stayed here whenever he took the 1 year at Searcy, but pretty much just been here the entire time with Coach Simpson. The good times, the times in the beginning when we first started the system, and then reaping the benefits of being in it now for a few years. I do offensive line for our team here. Coach 7th grade, just on up various levels. I'm the director of our youth program, so I'm really K through 12, Southside Southerners and gun tee.
I love it. It's a great place to be. Learning from somebody like Kenny and he's also very let you do things your own way, right? So it works out well.
Yep. It took a little bit, gaining the trust and things of that sort. But I'm over there during the game, probably really ever since we put it in, making the adjustments, and he trusts me to come up with the ways to do things. And it's just a great relationship that we've built.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I hope you guys had a great Thanksgiving era. I don't remember if we've recorded since then or not. I feel like my days are all running together. Great family time. Glad to be back podcasting and kind of pushing things through here. Yeah, I guess, Kenny, let's do the quote of the week, man, and we'll just jump right into the episode.
Yeah, so we got a couple of different things coming out. I'll do a quote here. We also, the Team Themes books are out, so make sure y'all check those out over at FB Coach Simpson. We always do one of those kind of I was basically based off what we did with our team. So Bo actually got to give a couple themes this year. I think it's our kids. Both our kids were seniors this year, and one of the things they both mentioned is they do like that we try to do more than just football, and the team themes are part of that. So a quote from this one comes out of Team Themes volume number 5 is Tony Dungy, so one of my favorite coaches of all time. And he says, wisdom in coaching and in life comes from listening more than you speak, learning from those around you, and never thinking you have all the answers. I chose that one because a lot of people know me for the gun tee, and they know a lot of the things we've done, and I have the opportunity to speak a lot. But you're going to find out today, a lot of the stuff we do came from learning from guys like Bo, and guys that were on our staff. This was a collaborative effort, and I don't know. I've never played line in my entire life. So who am I to come up with different things we're going to do? I have to lean on guys that know that well. And then we work together for how can we make this kind of blend up and work. So I thought the quote kind of fit really, really well. I'm glad that Bo is getting to be on this. He has a huge role in what we did in the gun tee, as do several of our other coaches who have come through and added little tweaks and adjustments. And so I thought the quote really fit really, really well. Excited to have, Bo will be speaking at the National Clinic. So if you want to hear Bo, we try to record those so the guys that don't get to make it can hear Bo. I think we got him roped into speaking at Wings and Things this weekend. So he's going to get a chance to really kind of showcase the gun tee and different things that we're doing with our line and just ways we're handling stuff. So if you want to hear him speak, the National Clinic is February 6th and 7th. I'm not doing the signal because we're not 12 years old, but it is the 6th and the 7th of February. There are a lot of other gun tee opportunities you get to go to, but I try to include the recordings from the National Clinic. That way, if you go to Charlotte or Boston or wherever and you hear just me, you can go back and watch the recording of, some of Bo's presentations. So if you do get to visit another gun tee clinic site, we always offer the recordings. They're always from the National Clinic. So you will get a chance to hear Bo if you come to any of the clinics. But if you want to hear him in person and live, you got to drive to Batesville, February 6th and 7th.
Love it. Sweet. I appreciate the quote. It is a good one. Tony Dungy's a great one to learn from. I will say that is, in coaching, I find it very weird that you spend all this time studying, if you're a guy that does, if you put in a lot of time and learn football, and then if you get into a new staff, there is that weird line of like, when am I the teacher and when am I the student? And how much am I supposed to learn from, like, if I came and joined your staff, Kenny, like, I'm going to soak up everything I can gun tee, but you don't ever know where guys are with what do they need help improving and et cetera. You know what I mean? So there's a line there of when do you teach and when do you, kind of learn. So
we brought in a new guy this year. We're going to have him on the podcast in a couple of weeks. Price Holmes. He's going to talk about strength and conditioning, and he's been a defensive guy his whole life. So he was getting baptized by fire. But I think even in a year, he had some good suggestions that we were able to install and work with. It worked with what we were already doing. And so we try to, I know on our staff, we meet, everybody can share an idea. And we don't really care who that is. You just can't get your feelings hurt if we all go, well, that's a good idea, but it didn't work for us.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the agreement we have. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. And I will say, Daniel, I'll just hop in here. I think that's something that Coach Simpson's done really well with, not just since we've been running the gun tee, but my first year, 15 years ago here, if I have an idea, he listens to it. You know what I'm saying? Even pre-gun tee and things like that, I feel like he's always done a good job of taking things into consideration. I know sometimes we'll work with the defensive coaches, like, hey, what are you seeing? What do you think would be good for us to do? You practice against us every day. And some years they've had really good ideas for us. Coach, if I was y'all, you ever looked at doing this out of that formation? And we're like, oh man, but just, if you're a young guy, ask questions. And if you're an older guy like I'm starting to be, or Coach Simpson or whatever, that's been doing things a lot, you can't be stuck in your own ways. You've got to always try to be learning, finding something new, and things of that sort. So, but yeah, Coach has always been good about listening, taking ideas, or asking us for ideas and things of that sort.
I love it. That's a great way to look at it. We're going to do things a little bit different on the sponsors, guys. We're just going to mention them. Ace Sports. If you haven't gotten over to acesports.com and checked out all the boards they can help build out for you, it's a great place to get started. Email mark.bridges@acesports.com. Get an idea. Talk with Kenny. Bo's been seeing a lot of their boards and what they can do for a program. Reach out to guys and ask the ones that have these boards from Ace Sports and see what they can do from you in the fundraising side, building your environment, improving your program. I think it's a great place to start. Regardless of what your end goal is, I think a board needs to be in your plan somewhere. And then don't forget about Doug over at Winning Edge Performance Analytics. I know that he's working on kind of his 2.0, if you will, and working on improving things from last year. So if you haven't yet jumped into the Winning Edge Performance Analytics I don't know, the group, I guess, if you haven't started doing that on Friday nights, it will make your life so much easier on the weekend when all your film is already tagged out. You've put it all in during the game. and you get a really good analytics program throughout the game to kind of see where things are working or falling short, what you might need to improve on. So jump over to winningedgeperformanceanalytics.com. You can reach out to Doug there too, kind of see what's going on in his program. Kenny, I know we got Gun T clinics coming up. You already spoke about them a little bit. 9 of them this year, all over the country. So there's no shortage. People can get somewhere. Something's in either driving or flying distance, right?
That was the hope. Now we've got a few filling up. The national clinic always gets close. I don't personally like to have a ton of coaches. We want these to be kind of a unique experience. And when you got 400 coaches, you can't really do that. The national clinic, we do have a little more capacity, but it's starting to fill up. Charlotte's already over half capacity. I think Boston's already over half capacity. So I try my best to limit attendance at these. So if you are a guy who wants to come to a clinic, it's always good to register ahead of time. I think it was a couple of years ago we had to turn people away. I don't like to do that. That's not I don't really enjoy that. But for me to make these clinics the way I want them to be, they are limited. So if you want to go, feel free to reach out. If there's something we can do to help that, we can take school purchase orders or we can do different things. We want people to have the experience. Recordings are great. Hearing Bo Gould on a recording, you're going to learn something. It's different when you get to sit down and eat dinner with him and pick his brain and go through that stuff. And I think that's what makes the Gun T clinics great. It's not me or Bo. It's you're in a room full of guys that are all running similar stuff that can help each other and those contacts. We actually camp and with several of the guys that come to the national clinic, texted the guy this weekend, won the state championship in Missouri. So congrats to Bill Duke and the Tipton high school team. We saw them this summer. I knew they had a good chance to win it. They were really, really good. And that was a contact that we would text throughout the year and keep up with. And so that's what makes the Gun T clinics, I think, unique.
Absolutely. If you want to look at clinic dates, go to fbcoachsimpson.com/Gun T clinic. And that'll be all the 2026 Gun T clinics. Really, you're in the South in the early, I guess, late winter, and then you start moving north a little bit as things warm up. Although I don't know that Ohio in March is going to be that warm.
Ohio and Boston in March, I'm not really. I may stay inside the gym the whole time.
I love it. All right. Last couple things. The 7.0 book is out for the Gun T. If you haven't gotten over to FB Coach Simpson, got a copy, or Amazon, go to either place. I feel like getting them from the Gun T website over at fbcoachsimpson.com.
Yeah, if you bought one and you're still waiting on it, man, we sold out pretty quick. So Jamie had to buy another order. Those are going out. While we got Bo on here too, just quick shout out to his book. He still gets royalties. I cut him a nice little check each month for the O-line drill book, which I think is one of the better books we have. He did a great job. That's the one book that we have QR things in the book that go right to videos of him describing what he's talking about. So I thought it was a very well done book.
I love it. That's excellent point. And then you talked about Team Themes already is out. I think that covers all the books, guys. Let's talk about some Gun T here. So really, like I said earlier, we're really trying to spotlight coaching systems that actually can help high schools win games, whether that's you're a 0-win team and you're needing to get to 5, or you're a 10-win team and you're needing to get to 15. Whatever you're needing, there's programs, there's systems out there that can help you. There's ones that we being me and Kenny truly believe in and think that these guys know what they're talking about versus some, you can sometimes just end up buying playbooks off the internet. So you got to be careful. So I want to make sure you guys are getting quality products. And the Gun T obviously is probably should have been the first one scheduling wise. We needed to get PJ in last week, but defensively you can run and look at his stuff. But Gun T is one of those, right? So kind of today we're going to talk about what it is, why it works, and then what changes it can make for you at the high school level. I think first, Kenny, we got to talk about the origin story of the Gun T system. And I know that if people go to the clinics, they get to hear this, but podcasters haven't heard it as much. So kind of why did you create this system? What were you trying to solve? Where was your history and how did all this come together?
Sure. And I'll give a little bit and I'll leave some room for Bo to kind of figure out how we did some of that stuff. But he was there with us. So my backstory before I came here, I'll give mine, and Bo can kind of give where he came from. But I came to Arkansas from Montgomery, and I was a spread guys. He was a coordinator for a while, and then we ran the Tony Franklin system. My offensive coordinator did, and so when he moved on, I became the head coach / OC. So I went from the defensive side of the ball to the offensive side of the ball. Really enjoyed the spread offense. We had pretty good athletes that could run that. And so we ran that and had some success in Montgomery. I moved to Southside in 2011. Southside had been on a 26 or 27 game losing streak. Had won like 5 games in the history of the school. It was a new program. I mean, I'm not blaming the guy that was before me, or it just was a difficult situation. They only had football for so long. They were playing in one of the toughest conferences you could play in. And I was young and thought I knew a lot. And so I came in and thought, well, man, I'm no big deal. Give it to me. So we came over here. I do hire Bo, but we run my spread offense for probably 4 or 5 years and don't have a lot of success, take some lumps. We had some early success, but then it wasn't sustainable. Conference we were in, we just couldn't match athlete for athlete. And so what I wanted to do in the spread world is throw the ball. And I'm fine to throw the ball, but when you can't get open and you have no misdirection and you have no real run threat, it becomes difficult. There's nothing wrong with the spread offense. There's guys who are going to win state championships this year running the spread offense. A lot of that is reliant on one-on-one victories. Like, my guy is better than you. I can create this matchup, and he can take advantage of that. Nothing wrong with that. We didn't really have those kids, so we needed something different. And so I researched wing T. When I was a defensive coordinator, I hated going against that, but I did not want to go under center. Bo had some stuff I'm sure he'll talk about from run game where they were flopping linemen and stuff like that. And so we kind of took what I thought was the best of a couple worlds, the wing T misdirection, the wing T tight end wing, the spread world RPO, the spread world pass game, the shotgun, the quarterback run game. That stuff I knew pretty well, and I wanted to keep that. And then we had to add some power elements and how we were going to play our line and how we we're going to work with undersized O-linemen who might not be physically as gifted. And that's where Bo, I'm sure I'll let him talk on that a little bit, but we had to do something in that world. And so we put it in 2016. 2015, I think, was actually the first year we kind of put it in, and we refined it in 2016. And so 2015, we won 4 games from the year before. So it was an improvement. 2016, 8-4, make the playoffs, first time ever, get a playoff win, first time ever. And kind of from then, I think the last, I'm not a big numbers guy, but I feel like every year I've been the head coach here, we've either made the playoffs or had a winning record or made some runs. And a lot of that I do credit to a lot of things that aren't just gun T, but a lot of it I do credit to that. I think scheme does matter, and it did matter for us. So that's kind of my version of it. And then Bo brought to the table a lot of the technique stuff we were going to do on the O-line, and I'll let him talk about his background on that.
All right, Bo, man of the hour here. Talk to us kind of where you started in ball and your input that Kenny let you kind of run with the gun T system.
Yeah. So growing up, I played at the neighboring school here in our area. Had a lot of success. They were power run. We would hop in the shotgun, but it was basically power run game, down blocks, kicking out people and things of that sort, even if we were in the gun. And then afterwards, after high school and stuff, went to college, got an associate's, but really cut my teeth being a youth football coach here in town. Then Coach Simpson got hired over here. I always knew that, had I stayed in my original deal, no doubt in my mind, would I be like a store manager at Home Depot, making a lot more money than I am now. But I just knew that that's what I wasn't here to do. I knew that I could be an impact, a positive influence on kids. And if you win games, you win games. But nonetheless, my background was power run game, play action, and things of that sort. So when we were in the room trying to figure everything out, I got to realizing while I didn't run the wing T, a lot of the wing T runs and things of that sort was comparable to kind of how I was brought up in the power run scheme, gap schemes, and things of that sort. So that's where I come up with, Coach, would we consider flopping lines, doing a strong side and a quick side versus left and right? I felt like the benefit of doing that is we're putting in something fairly new, something that takes skill sets per position, and then not only that, you're looking at, we don't get to pick the kids that we have year in and year out. We've had one time since we've been doing this where I would consider we had like a big O line, where we had like 260s across the board and things of that sort. So we've got to have something to where we're not having to reinvent everything. So by flopping our lines, where it allows us to be specific at a skill that a kid needs to do a certain play. Also, by us flopping lines, we can design our run blocking to where, if we particularly don't have a good lineman one year, but he's in our top 5, we can still have him be successful. And flopping lines allows us to do that.
And that's something I have seen before. I remember when my first year in coaching, the guys over at Morrison, Oklahoma, were switching their line, and at the time I thought, man, that's such a telltale sign of what's coming. But it didn't matter. That was the biggest thing. The kids were so good at what they did, it didn't matter if you knew what was coming. They were still going to make you wrong. So,
well, it's now. I mean, if you watch college football, Vanderbilt, running it, so it's not uncommon. We're not saying we invented it. We're just saying we took that and added it to the wing T run and in the spreadish world. It is new in that world.
Yeah,
there's a lot of guys that run wing T. They run right left. They don't run strong and quick. And so when we work with schools, we recommend it, but we don't say this is a kill. Like, it's not going to. You can't run the gun T unless you do this. We don't say that, but yeah. I do think it's given us a huge advantage.
Yes, you're absolutely right. And scheme and playing teams and things like that, I feel like it's given us advantage, but also it's given us advantage as coaches. You can cut down on the verbiage and things of that sort. You're not having to tag left and right to everything that you have. It's tagged within the play because certain ones are strong side, certain ones are quick side. Who cares if they're going left or right? You know what I mean? So like Coach was saying, that's one of the questions that I get asked a lot, because traditional wing T and really a lot of offenses are left and right, So why do you flip it? It's just some people that don't have experience with it may look at it as a far-fetched idea. But once, and even sometimes when me and Coach Simpson are out of school for 3 days, we go into it with this, and then they're like, man, Coach, these formations are getting kind of wordy. And we're like, yeah, well, that's how it would have to be unless you're flipping lines, you know what I mean? And sometimes they transition while we're there with them.
Yeah. And the spread stuff that I brought and we were able to make work, because Bo played an offense where everything was 136 or 248, and the wing T world is that way, 700 series, 900 series, 800 series. And there's nothing wrong with those. I don't want to come on here and act like I'm saying those are wrong. I just wanted to simplify to more spread verbiage. I think the spread world does better with that. Kids aren't scared by words. They are scared with numbers, and a lot of times as numbers, it makes sense in our brains as coaches because everything kind of has a thing, 30, so I've got guys that run the gun team. They want to call it 38 buck. And I'm like, why don't you just call it buck? You just take that out and, now you're good to go. Well, you put the 38 in, so it makes sense to you. You didn't do it for the kids.
Right.
You did it for you. And if we can shorten stuff that allows us, like Bo said, they'll laugh at me sometimes in the middle of the game. Our formations can get wordy. Like, they can get a little John Gruden-y at times, but I feel I'm okay to do that because the play calls one word. Yeah. So if we can be as formation heavy as we want, we can be, red over, empty, strong, shift, car. That's all formation. And then I just say buck.
Yep.
So if you're the O lineman, you just ignored everything and ran buck.
There is a generation of coaches that are based out of numbers, and I've never been one of the numbers and colors just transpose for me. I don't like I don't like numbers and colors in football. I think you should give a word, a symbol, an item, something that they can word associate, right? Like, I just think it works better. Put it into families. But you're right. Some guys have a hard time getting away from that old school, like ball carrier and then whole number that you're going to is I mean, it's as big as football is. And so trying to get people out of that, I think you're right. It is a comfort level for coaches knowing I'm telling those kids exactly where it goes. Well, you don't know where it's going to go sometimes, right? You imagine running inside zone and you're telling them what hole to put it in. You don't know. I realize y'all aren't inside zoning, but Bucks, what if it goes wide? It's just the hole didn't open. So it's a good point.
Especially the way that we run belly too. It can hit A, B, or C gap to where,
Right.
what is it? 30? Is it 30 through 38 belly?
Right.
We don't know.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Let's jump to the next part here, guys, and just and look at why is the gun tee different? So, there's wing tees out there, and then we have shotgun spread stuff is out there. By combining those two worlds, kind of what did we create that was different, modern, whatever, for these guys that, like you said, Kenny, we've got to fit football to the kids we have, and I don't have 5 wide receivers that can run around like crazy in the spread world. But I also don't really have 5 true linemen either. So it's, it's getting back in the wing tees kind of difficult. So what did we do? And what, how is it different from other things that are on the market?
You want me to go first or Bo?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Man, one thing I always try to tell coaches is, man, I know that we have it as an offering and we do want to help coaches and it is available for sale, but I don't want to be a salesperson. Like, I want to run something that helps our kids and document that. And if it can also help other people's kids, then we're going to share it, and so I say that to say, like, we didn't originally intend to put this in and say this is going to last forever. But what we have found through experience and through time, now it's been in for almost 10 years now. So I think we're coming up on 9 or 10 years, is that we've had to go through, Bo kind of mentioned it with the alignment, but I think I've gone through 8 different quarterbacks in 10 years, vastly different. Some of them phenomenal athletes that could not throw the ball very well. Some of them not as good of athletes, but they could spin it a little bit. Some of them could read RPOs extremely well. Some of them couldn't read RPOs at all. Some of them couldn't throw from the pocket. Some of them couldn't throw from the run. So, I think what makes systems work is when you can turn over personnel year to year and showcase the talent that you do have. Everyone has talent on offense. Do you have a system that allows you to showcase? Some years we've had a bell cow running back, blessed with that last 3 years. Some years we've had a 145-pounder. Some years we've had a guy at slot that was a converted running back. Some years we've had a true receiver. Some years we've had a really good X receiver. This year we were blessed with a really good one. Some years that guy was a great kid who worked hard and he wasn't going to get open very often. Some years we've had a real tight end, like a real tight end. This year we took a kid who had never played tight end his whole life and stuck him in 47, put him out there at tight end. He caught a touchdown and caught like 5 passes this year, but man, he blocked really well. Some years we've been blessed. The last 2 years we've had my son at wing, who's an all-state wing back. Some years we've taken a guy who was a old school wing T fullback that ran a 5.2 40. Some years we've taken at Searcy, I took a guy who weighed 165, was more of a skill kid. So I think the proof is in the pudding in my mind of we've had to do this unintentionally. Like, it wasn't intentional, but we've had to. That's why guys ask, why do you have so many books? Well, every year you have to evolve to what you have. Like, I think in any system, you have to do that. I think in our system, we've done a lot of those things already. Like, we've gone through hey, coach, I've got a kid who really can't throw it. All right, well, look, in the gun tee, here's what we would highlight. This is the caveat of the offense. Whenever I get to talk at clinics, I say it's like going to Denny's. There's like a 25-page menu. Or going to Cracker Barrel. You could order breakfast or steak. It's whatever you want to order. It's all there. It's all ready for you. But you don't want to mix and match. Like, you don't want to have a egg sandwich and have whatever else. You need to kind of pick your world that year. So as our staff, we're already looking at that. Okay, Bo and I already had conversations. Well, here's what we think our O-line is going to look like next year. Here's what we kind of think our quarterback situation is. Here's what we think our running back situation is. We don't have to go reinvent the wheel. We just pick out the part of the offense that matches that. And then we look at, okay, we're going to, let's say next year, I don't know if we are or not, but let's say next year we're going to live in the RPO world more. If we're going to live in that, then like this year we added 2 or 3 little wrinkles to the RPO that we hadn't shown. We pulled them out week 12. And we're playing a team that's probably going to win the state championship Saturday. Congrats to them. Lost them by 3. But we saved some things for them and pulled them out in that game. But for our kids, it wasn't like we added a new play in. It was a new presentation of a play we've already had with a new RPO. And then next year, got a 3-year starter at quarterback. I'm imagining we're probably going to expand our passing game a little bit. And we're not going to just put in 1,000 new plays. We're going to use what we already have. How can we tweak this to fit our kids? But we already have the verbiage. We already have the way to get kids where we want to get them. We already have our quarterback taught how to read it. And so to me, I think that's when you look at offenses, what offenses have sustained through talent in certain positions and then not as much talent in that position. Size and then not size, speed and then not speed. And I think hopefully our resume speaks for itself that we've won when we've had big and slow, and we've won when we've had small and quick, and we've won when we had not a real quarterback, we won when we had a real quarterback, we won when we've won a lot of different ways. I think that speaks to having a system that allows you to adapt.
I love it. Especially having it all ready. Kenny, he says he's not a salesman, and I agree that he doesn't like being a salesman. And he said that basically all this is available out there for free somewhere. What you pay him for is put it all together for you, right? It's
make it simple.
One spot, own it all. You go over to the Gun Tee and buy and get access to the website, and you buy the program. What he's talking about, the menu, you get the whole menu and why and how and everything else. So it is obviously a great way to do that. Bo, I want to ask you about making this work at multiple levels. So obviously some guys listening are high school coaches. Some are semi-pro. There's some collegiate coaches that are running the Gun Tee now, but some are like a dad of a kid on a 5th grade team or a 3rd grade team. And they just need something to operate out of to get a bunch of kids that don't know what football is. They don't know what a down block is. How do I make that operate? So you said you're the youth director.
Yep.
So talk to me about making the Gun Tee work with those younger groups and why it works at every level.
Yeah. Well, for us here, being varsity coaches and things of that sort, we know that the kids are going to come up to us through our youth program, and having everything in line with that. We give those guys deal breakers as far as our program goes. Like they're going to start, our first year is 3rd grade for tackle football, and they're going to go into it and start flipping lines. They're going to start running buck sweep. They're going to start running what we have as our non-negotiables, which I think that's important. If you have a youth league program, you want those guys using similar terms all the way up, so that way they're coming to you and kind of hearing the same words. But with that, at the younger levels, like I said, we're running buck. We have red and blue as our base formations, but it doesn't have to look like it does in the book. It's going to make sense for what they're trying to do. 3rd and 4th grade, we're not going to send them out there and just get embarrassed because they can't get a shotgun snap. So we can in 3rd and 4th grade. They got to give me 2 weeks, and then at 2 weeks, Coach, I still haven't found a center. I've tried 5 guys. All right, go under center, but keep the words the same. By 5th and 6th grade, find a guy that can shotgun snap. And then in 7th grade, really with me being the head coach there, it is basically the bread and butter of what they're getting ready to do for the next 5 years. There's been some years where we've had them for 3 weeks before school starts, and we go into our first game, and in 7th grade, we just have buck sweep in because we're not good enough at it yet. And you're going to get good at this because this is what you're going to do for 5 years. But from there, me being actively in the varsity coaching staff, I know kind of what we call things. So if I need to get in this, basically that message is don't just grab the book and think that it has to be done that way that it says in the book. Transition to it as they move up. Come up with some non-negotiables like, hey, we're going to flip lines. The strong formation that we have to the right is going to be red. The strong formation to the left is going to be blue. Doesn't matter where the guys are at really, but just lay that footwork and build on it as it goes up, I think is key.
That's a good point. You talked about the ability to just go under center if you need to. Like, we all have different kids, right? And especially when you get down to, well, you're talking about starting them in 3rd grade. Like, those kids may not have developed an arm yet to really move the ball anywhere. You talk about a center that can't snap it 5 yards under, between his legs, but the quarterback may not be able to throw it 5 yards. You know what I mean? So having a rollout system so that he can use his legs or, whatever you need to use. Quarterback run game. Sometimes your best quarterback is just your best running back. and sometimes he hands it off to the second best running back. And a lot of times he keeps it. So I think that's really neat that you have that built in where guys can make it work for them, but they're still laying the foundation.
And I think that's where football's moving. So you mentioned it, Daniel, where your quarterback's your best athlete or your second best athlete. And that's what we want to develop. Like, the days are gone where you put a game manager down there and take handoffs and hand the ball off. Like, remove that, get him out, and let's start using our athletes and try to develop. I think it's a whole lot easier to take a really good athlete in the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, whatever grade and teach them to throw than it is to take a kid who's not going to be real athletic and win with him. Like, it's just difficult to win at the quarterback position unless they're elite at something or they're a good athlete.
Yeah. And just kind of pigging back off of what Coach Simpson said earlier when we started this talk, he had talked about like having various quarterbacks with different skill sets and stuff like that. I think one thing that the gun tee allows us to do, this year it was not the case, but we've had 163-pound guards. We've had 325-pound tackles that knew that we wasn't going to put them on an island against the other team's fastest player. We've had guys that could move across the board to where we didn't necessarily have to keep the center at home. We could get there on a down block, even 2 gaps away. So you can kind of game plan with what you have, and it allows you not to have to create a new offense. You just tweak a couple of things, and you can still run buck sweep. You can still do everything. You can still do your passing. You can do all that stuff. And, inevitably what this allows us to do too is if I'm struggling to block somebody, I have a tag built in to where I can block him a different way. Or if that doesn't work, Coach Simpson can read him for me. And we can go that route, So it allows various things that protect our integrity up front from a lineman perspective. But he also did mention if you try putting that all in day one, you can feel like you're drowning. So you've got to know what you have coming to you that year or whatever. Kind of look advanced down the line a little bit. And then start working on those things. You don't want to work on them the night before. You want to put in the work going into it so that way you know what's going to work best.
I love it. Want to get into
sorry, Daniel, but also, I always tell my offensive line, it's not I can't, it's not I'm unable to. Because we have the answers, we're going to figure it out. You know what I mean? So, and they have faith in that. If that's with a blocking tag, we got that in our tool belt. If that's with, hey, coach, this backside linebacker, there's no one on our team that'll be able to get to him. Hey, thanks, Gould. I'll start reading him. Whatever that is, we have an answer to where they can succeed and think that they're whooping the guy's tail.
That's perfect. I want to real quick just talk about the core basis of the offense. So if you bought in book 1 and you were kind of going through it this next upcoming season in the run game, what do people have to look forward to? What are they going to be teaching? Like I said, what are their kids going to be running for the next 5 years?
You're going with me on that one?
Sure.
Okay, so the newest one you're talking about, or the?
No, I'm just talking about year 1. Kind of what does that base offense really look like in the?
Yeah, I always recommend people start with the first playbook. That's where we started with, and we had been running that for multiple years before we put the book out. I mean, that book came out in 2018 or 2019, maybe 2020 even. And we've been running that stuff for 4 years before I'm not just going to put a book out if it don't work. Like, in my world, coaches are pretty critical. So if you're putting crap out there that ain't good, they're going to know, and so we waited a long time to put that out, but we put out, hey, this is the basis of our offense, and anyone running the gun tee, I would start with the first book. And it talks about these are the 3 main run plays we run on the strong side, the 3 on the quick side. Here's our base RPOs. Here's our base formations. Now we've evolved. Like we used to call trips. We had an L word and an R word for trips. And why are we doing that? Let's just call it trips. And so there's been evolutions in terminology. We used to have numbers for screens, and we just talked about how I hate numbers. So we got rid of those, and so now so everything has kind of evolved. So from 2019, when the first book came out till now, there's been tweaks. We're blocking buck. Our base way of blocking buck is different now. Like our centers rule. So we've evolved because we've had to evolve, but that's where I would start. Like that's going to give you a really good starting place of here's the basis of the offense. And then I always recommend guys pick one of the position books. Bo did an excellent book with our offensive line. If you want to get all our O-line drills, get that. If you want to get all of our quarterback reads, we have a quarterback manual. We have a wide receiver manual. And so you got these books. Okay, here's how I coach this position. Here's how this should look. And then we have an organizational. Hey, here's how I would install it like this. Here's how I would use my coaches. So all those materials didn't come around because we just thought, hey, it'd be cool to do this. It was I got tired of answering 9 million questions about, Coach, what do you do with your O-line? Hey, Bo, will you please write a book? So we can answer these questions. I'm not trying to be ugly, but I don't have time to answer
the same question.
100 questions when Bo can write a book that has way better detail than I can do. And so that's kind of where a lot of that stuff came from. But that's where I'd start. I'd get the playbook. I'd get all the position manuals. I'd get the organizational. And then, like you mentioned, Daniel, if you're going all in, you can kind of work your way up year to year with what we did. Some books, like I think the 3.0, we put Trojan in. I think one of them, maybe the 4 or the 5.0 is a lot of quarterback run game because that's what we had. And so some of my kind of point coaches towards, if it's, hey, Coach, I'm running the offense this year, we're this, that, or the other. Okay, we want to run inside zone or duo. All right, get the 2.0. That's what I ran at Cersei, And so I can kind of point them to different books there, but I would start with the first one.
I want to jump real quick to the passing game marriage. So, Kenny, I know you said you brought the spread world into this, and people, I'm sure you've lost your gun tee card or your wing tee card because you decided to throw spread concepts at it. But that's kind of the world we live in, right? You look at the guys that are offensively doing things at a high level. I'm supposed to hate Lincoln Riley because he did University of Oklahoma pretty dirty, but he's an offensive mastermind, right? Like that guy. But he's like a single wing run game with the spread and air raid offense for the pass game. So you're right there in that world of offensive mastermind. So how did you take that spread passing game and marry it to what you're already doing in the backfield?
Well, we've still got a ways to go in that. We've with great athletes at quarterback until recently, we've not really had an elite thrower. So I'm still doing deep dive studies on different people of what works for our guys because I've got a really good thrower this year. He ended his career high, threw for 240 in a game against probably the team that's going to win a state championship, and I felt like I needed a couple more tools to give him. So there's always more to add. But I think what makes our offense good is we do have a lot of play action RPO game, which is very quarterback friendly. Waggle's waggle. They've run waggle for years, but waggle from the gun, man, it's open. We really didn't run it a ton, and then we pulled it out and hit it 4 times in that game. Just running versions of it, waggle switch, waggle with the wheel with the running back, waggle this. And so it's not like we're taking brand new concepts. We're just tweaking off of, we have this, let's do this route. Okay. We do a lot of the trips game. It's a lot of Tony Franklin stuff. Flood is flood. I mean, you can call it 94 if you're a Tony Franklin believer, or you can run levels, however you want to get to it. We try to get to it with motions, shifts, different things that kind of help us. So we've got a lot of that game as well. Then the RPO game, I think, makes us pretty special. And it's different when you're running inside zone and RPO, but when you're seeing 2 pullers on buck, and you better fit it. Because if you don't fit it, there's problems. And if you do fit it, we have 4 or 5 different ways we can get to glance routes right where that linebacker's coming from. And I think probably, as Bo, I would imagine probably 30% of our passing yards was probably off that one concept.
Right.
Give that buck look, bring guys in behind it. Those are easy completions for the most part, or run unbalanced shoot routes or run play action. We're running pop routes. So that's where, and I think that's very QB friendly. You don't have to have a great quarterback to run that stuff. Where we're at trying to get to now is I've got a good quarterback. So we're trying to marry in, okay, what other concepts do we like? You can run any twins or trips concepts in the gun tee that you want to run. And I tell coaches this, we feel the gun tee is, here's our base runs, our base RPO, our base play action. And then you can get the coloring book out all you want on twins concepts you like. You like running dagger routes, run dagger routes. You like running smash, run smash. This year we made a little bit of a living on go out. It's a simple concept there. So each year we're willing to tweak the passing game because we are not willing to tweak the run game, the RPO game, the whatever game. So that gives us more freedom. We'll probably look at 4 or 5 different concepts this year. That are with twins or trips or whatever it's going to be. And then we'll work on what we're good at during 7-on-7 season. And we get to August, we'll probably keep 2 or 3 of those.
Yeah.
And some years we may keep 1 because we don't have the ability to throw it. This year we'll probably keep maybe 4 because we can throw it. And so we think that's what makes the gun tee good. And I know that's not the answer a lot of coaches want. They just want me to tell them run these passes. But we think that's the beauty of it is you now can run what you run well. The one rule that we keep with our quarterbacks, so it doesn't change, is we always read defenders. So you need to be good enough at the pass concept. You can move his eyes to where you want him to read, and you know what you want him to read. I'm not a big fan of reading leverage or reading this or throwing a one-on-one route. I mean, if you want to throw a one-on-one route, just call it one-on-one route. Don't ask him to pre-snap read, oh, we got this look, so we're throwing the fade. I don't tell him to read this defender. This defender does X, you do Y. That allows you to play a kid at quarterback that's not going to be a doctor or an engineer in the future. It allows you to put a dude back there that can read 1, 2, and go be a dude. Because this year, our quarterback, he's a smart kid. He probably could do more. But him being him made us great. And if I'm starting to put these constraints on him where he's got to read this, that, and this, I might have had to put a different kid at quarterback. Right. Who couldn't do the things he does. So we need to teach to where we can have a bigger pool of applicants at quarterback by keeping it simple and then let those guys be those guys.
I love it. Bo, talking passing game here, how do you feel that marrying these passing concepts has helped you as an O-line coach? How is it like alleviating stress of worrying about pass protections and all that?
Yeah, well, the RPO game, we're blocking a run. I mean, so, and like Coach said, that was 30% of that came off of one thing. I will talk about RPOs a little bit. The one thing that we have is, as a coach, certain games, you may go into it thinking, hey, this team's setting up really nicely to where we need to be running belly instead of like buck or Trojan instead of buck or something like that. With our RPOs, the way that we have everything set up is you don't have to come in with new RPOs. You can still run the same ones off of whatever play is working or more favorable in that certain situation. So I think that's a positive. But so that protects our run game. That also allows for a good portion of our pass game to be designed with run blocking. And then the other thing is I have, like, if we're doing rollout game to trips or off of motion and stuff like that, the way that I teach it is it's also rules based as far as our steps go. And then also I'm not losing the physicality that I have in the run game, because the last thing that I want to lose is that physicality. So I have the blocking rules set up for that. I have the blocking rules set up for the blitzer that we could have, and so on, to where if they're not in contact at a certain time, they're helping the guy that is in contact. But the thing that like we've grown on is how our drop back pass blocking goes. So because we're strong and quick, we're always going to slide one way, leave our better, most of the time speaking, our best O lineman is going to be our quick tackle. So we're going to make sure that our best O lineman is the one that we're leaving on an island whenever that goes. There's certain, which incorporates, working with your running backs and things like that on how they need to look. That's something that 3 years ago was horrible. And since then, I feel like it really showed at how far that we've come that last game of the year with one of the better pass rushing teams. And, we had one or two that we'd like to have back, but generally speaking, if that game was played 3 years ago, he may end up in an ambulance, our quarterback. So we've come a long ways with that. Part of that is just the understanding of how it needs to look. But like Coach Simpson mentioned earlier, I think the first 5 minutes of this, that's problems that we've went through, problems that we can offer answers to, and things of that sort.
And in my opinion on passing game too, and some guys will probably get on here and they don't agree, and that's fine. I think sometimes we make it more complicated than it needs to be. I basically, with what we run with a tight end wing, I know what coverage I'm going to get every time. And I tell guys that are spread, that are coming to our offense, I said, you're about to get the most simplistic coverages you've ever seen, because they're going to spend 95% of their time. How are they going to fit buck sweep? How are they going to move their front? How are they going to do this or that? They're not spending time going, how do we trick the quarterback and cover 3 or 4? How do we spin a safety down, or how do we whatever? Because if you're doing that, we're running for 4,000 yards against you. And so that's kind of my mindset is, if you're going to come to this offense, you don't have to be complex in the passing game, because you just have to have a quarters beater and a 2 beater and a man beater and a 3 beater, whatever. You got to have your plays you want to run against different looks. Your quarterback don't have to know that. He just has to know who to read, what to do. And then in the game, in about 3 plays, you're going to know what coverage you're getting, and just call those plays you got. I think the beauty of our offense is the play action, the RPO. When we're at our best, we're throwing play actions, RPOs on early downs that are favorable, easy throws for our quarterback. When we're at our worst, we're down and having to scramble, drill it up on 3rd and 12, and no offense looks good on 3rd and 12 calling passes. Like, nobody looks good on that. And so I think that's just offense 101.
For sure. I know we're kind of pushing up against the time here, so I got one question from the audience. And Bo, I guess we'll go to you here, really. Are there disadvantages to flipping versus not? We have a good runner at quarterback now, mostly under center, and we'll move to the gun pistol more next year.
What are the advantage?
Yeah, I guess advantages, disadvantage to flipping and not.
Yeah. So the advantages that we have, or that we found that it gives us, is we're able to train a particular skill set. I just need the strong guard is my kick guy. My quick guard, generally speaking, is my wrapper. And then I'm able to, take my tackles, put a good one where he's having to block in space. The strong tackle, for example, we're never going to get him out in the screen. So I'm able to train the skill sets that they need easier. I'm cutting down on reps that they're getting in practice. They don't have to if the strong guard doesn't have to get a wrap as well on buck sweep. He's only working kicks that pod. The strong tackle that that's a bigger type kid, he's not going to have to try to work with the receivers coach and get downfield on a screen pass. Only my quick tackle and my quick guard need to do that sort of thing. So I mean, we're able to do things of that sort to where, generally speaking, year in and year out, we can design what we're doing off of what we have up there on the line. A lot easier by flipping sides.
Absolutely. All right, gents. I think we've checked all the boxes today. It was a great episode of just kind of getting a good overview of the gun T system. I think we're going to skip the situation of the week this week. I know we're right up against the clock here. So once again, talk about our sponsors. Reach out to Ace Sports, acesports.com. Mark.bridges at acesports.com is a great place to reach. Reach out to Mark and let him luckily I get to bump into him this weekend in Tampa, flying down there to do the big athletic administration. I don't know what all it's called. Something crazy. So he'll be fielding some questions there. So if you're seeing me now, you'll probably be seeing me live then. So bring any questions you have, and I'll make Mark answer them live. And then also don't forget about Winning Edge Performance Analytics. Doug has put up some great product, and he's going to be building even better things going into year 2. So go give him a chance to help your game nights a little bit easier. Social media wise, Bo, where can somebody reach out if they want to talk about flipping guards and tackles and all the good stuff? Where can they talk to you at?
Yeah. So Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it now, it's Coach Bo Gould. Email coachbogould@gmail.com. And again, I'm able to help you in any way that you might see fit. If it may take a little bit, because I may have to reach out to Coach Simpson and be like, hey, what year and what book and all that stuff is that in? But you're dealing with somebody that has had various situations come up. No one knows your kids like you do. But at the same time, I can help you. Hey, Coach, we have a strong tackle this year that can't really move. How do we need to block this sort of deal? Then I know the answer to that, whereas
Right.
If you just picked up one of the books, it'll have like how we basically did things, whatever year that came out, but it always kind of changes for us in the off season and going into summer and things of that sort.
I love it. The art and the science, right? You got to have both pieces. Awesome. I am at Coach Chambo OK on Twitter /X. You can email me at chamberlainfootballconsulting@gmail.com. Jump over and check out the YouTube. Kenny, where can they find you at, sir?
All things FB Coach Simpson. So at FB Coach Simpson, FB Coach Simpson at gmail.com, and then FBCoachSimpson.com.
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking to get into the Gun T program, FBCoachSimpson.com is where to find it. Is there a better place for them to go to purchase it, Kenny?
No, there's lots of ways. So I get asked this question if people are still listening. I would say, look, there's free stuff on YouTube. Go look at it, make sure it fits you. Nobody wants you to get into something that ain't going to work for you. Go to YouTube and check out all the free stuff. Bo's got free stuff. Go look at it, make sure it fits you. Then everything's over at FBCoachSimpson.com. You can get one book. You can get one PowerPoint. Some are free. Some are a little more. If you want everything, Daniel kind of mentioned there's a tab on there that says, I want to buy everything you got. And then, of course, I always highly encourage the clinics. I think those are invaluable for coaches too.
Love it. Yeah, get to a clinic this year. I think I get the most out of those, and I somewhere have almost all the books and have access to the program, but the clinics still teach me something every year. So it's a great place to go check out the system. Podcast is at Coaching 101 Pod on Twitter /X. We want to thank you for being a listener to the Coaching 101 podcast. We hope you'll join us next week as we continue to make the complex more simple. Please consider subscribing to the show so you'll always know when new episodes are out. We'll leave you with this. It's hard to beat someone who never gives up. No matter the situation, find a way.